Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Bullet Sports Spotlights. This week, we are focusing on the tennis programs at Gettysburg College. And joining me today is head tennis coach Ali Flores, a 2008 graduate of Gettysburg College, and she is in her fourth year overall with the program. Ali, so great to have you with us. I know every time I introduce you, I always want to say Ali Moyer. Of course, that's your name, as I knew you as a senior at Gettysburg back in 2007-08, which was also my first year with the Bullets as well. So, Ali, thank you for joining us. I hope you're excited to talk about some tennis today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, Ali, before we dig into the current state of the team and looking ahead at the future and everything that's gone on in this crazy 2020-21 year, I want to update the people at home a little bit about your career. And obviously, you were at Gettysburg and were one of our top singles players in the lineup for the women. A successful, really, 4-year run for the women, too, way back in 2005 and 6 and 7 and 8. And then you've been around the country a little bit, too. So if you want to give the quick summary of your career path, both as a student athlete, your major at Gettysburg, and then in the years afterwards, too, leading up to your triumphant return to Adams County.
Sure. So I decided to come to Gettysburg College, and I'm from Gettysburg too. I grew up here, went to Gettysburg High School, and I tried not to come to Gettysburg College because it wasn't the cool thing to do to stay in your hometown, but I just didn't like any other school better, honestly. So I just loved it, and I could play tennis. That was huge. So I was here for 4 years. I majored in health and physical education, which is not a major at Gettysburg anymore, but I loved that. I loved learning all about teaching sports, and I was going to go right into teaching right after my 4 years. But during those 4 years, to back up a bit, I played tennis, and it was one of the best experiences about Gettysburg College. I just loved my teammates. We had a great time competing, and just nothing but good memories looking back. So it was a great experience. And like I said, I was going to just go right into teaching, get a health and phys ed job, but something was pulling me. I wanted to expand my horizons a bit, and I ended up getting an opportunity at Baylor University to have an assistantship. So I got free tuition for my master's, and I had an assistantship teaching volleyball and tennis classes to undergrads at Baylor. So I went down there, and I lived in Texas for 3 years, and I got my master's in sport pedagogy, which again is teaching, coaching sports. And I always had in the back of my mind, a lot of the students in my program wanted to be college coaches. And I thought, well, that would be like more of a dream job for me. I don't think that would ever happen, but it's kind of nice to have this in my back pocket. And I met my husband at Baylor University, and he ended up getting a job back here in Pennsylvania. And so we were here, and it just worked out. In 2017, I started with the women's program, and I thought it was just going to be a 1-year thing. They needed someone to fill in quick. And that turned into me being asked to take over the men's program the year after. And it's just been awesome to be back. I love it. So this is my 4th year with the women and my 3rd year with the men. Obviously, last year I still count as a year, even though it was a crazy year and we didn't get to compete. But I've just loved being back at my alma mater, my hometown. I think I bring a unique experience, a unique perspective to it. Just being from here and having my college experience here and now coaching, it's been a really cool thing. So.
Yeah, and of course, you've got strong ties to the college. Your dad, Al, was a longtime assistant coach with Mike Kirkpatrick on the women's basketball team. And of course, was an administrator all over the place in local high schools, serving as superintendent. It's several places. And now he's retired, I believe, right?
Right. Yep.
And of course, your mom also worked at the college. I know she was in facilities for a little while. She was with the Orange and Blue Club too for a while too. So strong orange and blue ties at Gettysburg College for the Moyer family, for sure.
Yeah.
So Ali, obviously this past year has been kind of crazy. Like you noted earlier, we didn't really get to play much tennis last season. We may have had a couple fall matches there, but really didn't get into a groove. This season was pretty much canceled before it started. And now you've been dealing with, managing 2 teams through a pandemic, certain health restrictions that even out there on the court, wearing masks, being masked up. Talk about how you've been able to get the team prepared, going through really a very non-traditional fall season, also through these early weeks of the spring too. I mean, we got the whole element with the spring weather too, which you never know what's going to do as well. The courts and the virtual background behind you are dry now, but
Yeah.
they haven't been dry, I don't think, a day in the last week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been challenging. I think the most challenging part is not having the whole team together. So in the fall, when everyone got sent home, or sophomores, juniors, and seniors got sent home in the fall because of the COVID rising on campus, that was really tough for me because, and for all the coaches, I'm sure, because we lost a lot of our leadership. And so we had these new first year student athletes, and we're trying to show them how it goes, how it is being here, like the level of practice, the commitment, and we're doing all that without our student athlete leadership, our captains. And so that was probably the toughest part. But the nice thing is that with the craziness of 2020 in the spring, a lot of the freshmen that I brought in, missed their senior season in high school. And so I think we were just happy and thankful to be out on the court at all. Was the main I think that was the main feeling I got, which was great from most of the players. Obviously, there's frustrations, we're like 70 feet apart wearing masks. Most of the court is like 70 feet long. So it's a little frustrating to be there wearing masks. And, I try to be the good example. I'm wearing a mask all the time, but honestly, it wasn't a huge issue. I thought there would be more. I think because we were thankful to be back out competing a little bit or practicing, a mask didn't end up being the biggest deal. It wasn't, we're all in this together. I think the athletic training did a great job leading that charge and just, explaining to us why it was so important. And so then I explained it to my team, and they just all kind of came together with all the other athletes on campus. Like, if we want to have a spring season, we're going to have to do this now. But it was challenging having us so far apart. And then I'm sure other coaches are dealing with this, trying to keep the off-campus student athletes still engaged in the program. And still, checking in with them. Are you hitting? Are you able to get out and hit at all? Well, some people don't have people to hit, like a lot of people to hit with at home. So they're, in the fall, it was pretty lazy. And then others, have a club or something that they go to, and they're hitting almost every day with a private coach. So I think the discrepancies there were kind of tough too. Some people don't have the same opportunities. But the spring, honestly, has been so great, getting everyone back, finally competing against another school. I just can't describe the feeling. Our wins and losses aren't where we want them right now. We're 1-3, but it's just, even when we're losing, just getting out there and being competitive and watching them figure it out. Because as you know, tennis, you're out there by yourself or with one other person, and you have the whole 3 sets for singles. And so just watching them take what we do in practice and take their experience and their mental toughness and trying to figure out how to win has just been really cool. It's just not something you can recreate in practice. So it's been great, just the environment, just being out on the court again. And with the weather, I don't know if last Saturday we had a rainy day. It was just misting all day. It took us, I think, 2.5 hours to get the match started, trying to blow off the courts. And we didn't get out of there till like 8 p.m. But it was such a competitive match. I think we all left feeling, good that we got it in.
Yeah, and the matches end up being a bit of a mask break too, because the Centennial Conference has allowed student athletes to take their mask off while they're competing, only while they're competing. So they come off the court, they got to put the mask on, they got to social distance. But because they're spread so far apart and they're not considering close contact, they get that little mask break in there. So that's got to be a nice little relief from the day as well, to just kind of compete and be out
Yeah,
there.
I have my mask tan going because the coaches don't get the break. So I have my mask all the time. But the players, yeah, that's been awesome for them to get that break while they're competing. That's been a great thing. So I'm glad they did that.
And of course, with both teams, as you mentioned, you don't have your full complement of players. You got, 2 fairly small rosters for tennis and what you want for this time of year too. You only got 1 senior. You have a super, super young team that's going out there and competing against, some of these teams that have all seniors. They're coming out there with a 6-woman or 6-man singles lineup that is almost predominantly seniors and juniors. But what are some things that you've seen out there so far in this short season that you've really enjoyed and taken note of, just from the men and women both.
Mhm. Yeah, I think on both sides, you're right. We're pretty inexperienced because even some of the upperclassmen that we have, the juniors, they really, their first time in the lineup was last year. And so we only played, like you said, a few matches in the fall. We played at spring break, but there's not much competitive experience there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the freshmen coming in lost their whole competitive spring as well. So we're just, and everyone's in the same boat. So it's not, but we just have a younger team. So I do feel like the experience playing Centennial Conference level matches is huge. So something that comes right to my mind is Ursinus the other day on the men's side. I have Alex Kagan, Michael Zana as my new first years, and they're playing 1 and 2. And they were up against a team in doubles, two seniors who have played together for 4 years, and they took him to 6-8. I mean, it was a great match. They almost beat him, 1 or 2 points the other way. But yeah, like we're playing these guys who they have the experience of playing the high level teams every year, and they've played together. So I was super impressed with them and how they played out there. And on the women's side too, we kind of have a mishmash. So we have girls that have been around for a few years, but not a ton of experience in the lineup. And then we have a new sophomore in our lineup who's on our team for the first time as a sophomore. And we have 2 freshmen who came back, and some of the other ones couldn't come back. So it's just so mixed up. But I do feel it's been a little harder for the women because we played our first full match with the women on Saturday against Ursinus. Some of the other schools don't have a full roster. And so that was tricky too, because then the bottom of our roster isn't getting that playing time either, that experience even this season. It's just been, it was really nice for the women on Saturday to get a full match and everyone got to play. So I just like seeing, and again, just seeing them kind of their wheels turning in their head a little bit, figuring out, oh, okay, if this is the strategy I need. Because with coaching tennis, they're all dual matches this season. So I have 12 singles matches going on at once. And I have myself and then my assistant, Rob, who's been a huge help, men's soccer assistant, but helping me out for the spring. So between the two of us, we have to try to cover 12 matches. It's really tough to know what's going on, but it's been cool when we go up at the changeover and they give me some feedback, like tell me what's going on. And I can really see them critically thinking about the strategy and things like that. I just think this season is going to be great for experience for them, and then as we move up and we have some senior leadership next year on the women's side and on the men's side that have been here a few years, I think it'll click a little bit more too. So I'm just thankful for this season to get them experience. Wins or loses, losses, wins or losses. I just think the experience is going to help us for next year.
Yeah, it's a great perspective on how to look at things for sure. Obviously we're gonna talk about looking ahead a little bit here in a second, but first I want to get your thoughts on some past great moments out there on the court. Obviously, when you were here, the team was really successful, so I don't know if anything comes to mind there. And then, of course, a couple of years ago, you had some young women just come together and pull us to playoffs and pick up a playoff victory too. So I don't know if that's like one of your top moments out there as a coach or not. I would
Oh,
imagine.
yeah. 2 years ago, I didn't see it coming, which was the coolest part about it. I knew I had good players, but we had been working, for a couple years. My big thing was when I came into the program, it was a little bit cliquey. We dispersed after practice. No one really went to dinner together. I noticed that right away. So one of the biggest things I worked on with my senior leadership and my captains was getting that team camaraderie where it should be. And I think that really helped us that year. It's sort of, Maria Martinovich's senior year, Maddie class, great girls, great leadership, and then really good talent too coming up behind them. And it just clicked. Like the girls, they were hanging out all the time outside of practice. And so I think that really translated or transferred to the court, and they're playing for each other rather than just seeing tennis as an individual sport. And so clearly, the F&M match is what sticks out in my mind, because we had lost to F&M 2 weeks before that. And then we finished 5th. So we made the playoffs, which we were so excited about. We hadn't done that in 20 years. You could probably tell me the number, but we go in to play F&M, and I'm thinking, like, we have nothing to lose. Let's just go for it. And the girls, I mean, we ended up beating them. It came down to number 2 singles, and she had lost 2 weeks earlier, went to a third set. I mean, it was just crazy. There, people were live tweeting it at F&M, I think. So my family's texting me the whole time. I get it all after the match because I'm not checking my phone. But just seeing them come together and seeing that year, what was interesting was that different people would win every match. So some matches it would be our number 6 and our number 4 won, number 1 and 2 lost, but then we picked up 2 and 3 double, or 1 and 2 doubles. And then the next match it would be 1 and 2 at the top of the lineup really held their own, and 4 and 5 lost. So it was just such a big team effort. We couldn't have done it without every single girl on the team, which was really cool. And with the men's program, I've had less experience with them, but something that really sticks out was last year. We had, right before spring break, we had one player not able to come. So I was only able to bring 6 guys to spring break, which, as you know, is just enough for the lineup. So it was a little bit nerve wracking. If anyone gets injured, we're out. And I had Zach LaChance playing 1, and he had never played 1 before, wasn't expecting that. I had, Alex Schalk playing 2. And we played, I think it was FDU Fordham. And so they have, I forget what conference they're in, but they had some really high quality players. They had some international players at the top. And I saw Zach, he took the guy to a third set tiebreak, really stepped up, and Alec too. It was really cool watching them play. We got home from spring break on March 13th, and that's when the whole lockdown started. And I remember saying bye to them, like, hopefully this will only be a week or 2. And I'm really excited to see what you do this season now that I've seen you at spring break. It was just really cool to see them step up their game. And, as we know, we didn't get to see them finish that season, but now they're playing, Zach's playing 3 for us, Alex playing 5. So that's been cool to see their transition. As freshmen, they didn't get a spot because we had so many seniors. And then as sophomores, that was their sophomore year last year. And now as juniors stepping up into the lineup, it's been cool to see them develop.
Yeah, that development, we were talking about that before we went live, and how your returning players, how they continue to develop. And we've seen it so often in tennis, individuals come in as freshmen, maybe they're in that 7, that 8, that 9 range, they're not getting the time in the singles lineup, they're sneaking in occasionally in doubles. And then by their senior year, they're playing 3 and 4 for you, which is great. And that kind of leads into our end all statement here, end all question about the future of Bullets tennis. What are you trying to build as a coach, and where do you see both programs going in the next couple of years?
Yeah. Yes, a big part of my philosophy as a coach is to improve every day. And so that's what I try to, that's what I try to promote to the players in practice. So when I tell you to keep score. Everyone should know the score. We're competing, we're trying to improve every day. As I look forward, like I said, with the women's team, I feel like we did a great job between me and the leadership on the student athletes of bringing the team together, getting that team camaraderie piece, like playing for each other. That's a goal for the men too. And I think we're doing a really good job with that this year. And I think that's developing. And I'm looking to get, high quality players on the team too. So like recruiting wise, I'm looking for people who can play at that top level, who bring up our level of practice. So I mentioned Alex and Michael on the men's side. I feel like bringing them in this year has really helped just bring practice up a level. Everything is a little bit more competitive when we're working to improve every day. And so that's what I'm trying to do with both teams, just bring in high quality people too, just like of good character. And that will respect each other, play for each other, and just improve every day. We're trying to work up, because Centennial Conference in all sports, it's just such high quality athletics, and tennis is no different. And it seems like every team we go, they just keep getting better and better. So I'm trying to keep up, and I'm trying to also be realistic with goals. So our goal for this year, next year, not necessarily to win a conference championship, but we want to, on the women's side, we want to get back to the playoffs. Like we tasted that and we want it again. We're hungry for that again. Like that was so cool. Such a neat experience to be in that environment. And that's where I want to go with both teams, taking it one step at a time, but bringing in people who, are, going to buy into my philosophy and believe that we can get better. Alex Kagan coming in, like he knew as when I recruited him, I told him, you're going to be the leader on my team. Like that's just what you're going to have to step into as a first year. And so he knew that coming in. And I think, in further years, I'm going to have to do stuff like that. Just be honest with the players I'm bringing in. This is what I need you to do. And this is where we're going. So I'm excited. It's a good place to be able to try to improve the program. It's not, sometimes I'd love to be like winning more matches, but in a way it's kind of a nice challenge. I care about Gettysburg tennis so much just with my history. So I'm going to be here trying my best to get us to those levels, but also just creating a good experience for the student athletes. That's super important to me too. We're having a lot of fun.
That's great, Ali. And I got to ask one more question. Do you ever go out there? Do you pick up the racket and go out there and get in some doubles or singles action against the student athletes?
Sometimes when I started coaching both teams, that lessened a little bit because I do feel like I need to be more present as a coach on the court, but I love stepping in sometimes when we have an odd number for sure. And I throw Rob in there too, because he played tennis growing up. So if we have an odd number, I'll throw Rob in, play some doubles or some king of the court. It's really fun.
Always great to see the competitive nature of coaches come out and show the student athletes you still got a little in the tank. I remember that competitive Ali Moyer from 2008 for sure. Well, Ali, that is all the questions I have for today. I know you're busy. You've got 2 teams you got to manage. So I imagine you got practice later today. So I want to say thank you for joining me this week. We got a whole week of activities planned with tennis and feature stories. Going to talk to the student athletes and whatnot as well. So stay tuned. Follow that on GettysburgSports.com. So my name is Corey Jewett, Director of Athletic Communications, signing off for Ali Flores. Go Bullets.